in the Lake Charles area and the Gulf area in general. As you know, safety is one of our core values, and so we made sure to shut down those assets and make sure that our employees were able to hopefully evacuate safely in that time that we did that. So one of the things I love about Phillips 66 is that we honor that value of safety. And my first year at Phillips 66 was in first week even was Hurricane Harvey, and I remember being up here in Bartlesville at the HR call center, and we called and tracked down every employee in the Gulf and Houston area. So definitely a great way to show our commitment. Very excited today to introduce Brad Rector. Brad serves as Chief Information Officer for Phillips 66 and is based here in our Bartlesville office. But aside from that, he also serves as the executive sponsor for Phillips 66. So he helps, for TU from Phillips 66. So he helps to guide our philanthropy, our recruiting strategy, our marketing and branding on campus. And so we're very thankful to have him in that leadership role. So Brad has been with Phillips 66 for, Brad, is it about 3 years now, or is it 2? Oh, I think you might be muted, Brad.
Let's see. It shows Brad is unmuted.
We're still having a few mic issues, Brad, but I'll while you work on that.
Hey, does that
we can hear you. Yep, we can hear you now. Yep.
Good. I just had to switch microphones. So yeah, it seems like it's 3 years. Actually, it'll be 2 years in November, so not quite 2 years yet. I still feel new.
Yeah. But I will say Brad brings to Phillips 66 over 30 years of experience in the chemical and oil and gas industries. Before he joined us in November of 2018, he was Vice President and Chief Information Officer at Air Liquide Americas. He began his career in 1988 as an engineer at Texaco in Bakersfield, California, and has held various engineering and information technology roles in several different companies, and has had some expatriate assignments from Hong Kong to Cologne. Brad attended UCLA and the University of Arizona for his engineering degree, and then the University of Houston, where he received his MBA at the Clear Lake campus. So Brad brings a ton of experience as an engineer. I think he may even tell you how he got into IT. So you engineers out there, don't think that you're always going to be at a refining site. You may make your way into the IT side of things. But with that, I'll turn it over to Brad. And Leonel, I just want to make sure that Brad is able to share his screen. We use WebEx, so it's a little bit easier. I'm not sure if Zoom allows for him to share his PowerPoint. But
yes, so yeah, Brad, you'll just click on share screen at the bottom, and it should be set for you to share your PowerPoint.
Okay, let's see if that works.
Yes, you have started sharing. Yes, indeed.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay,
yep.
Good. Well, thank you for that. I am really happy to be here, and I'm going to go through a little bit of maybe a slightly different context of the introduction that Calvin talked about. And so anyway, but before I go too much further, I'm going to go to the next slide, which the lawyers forced me to say this, so I'm going to treat you guys like it's a Wall Street presentation. Some of the things I talk about in the business, because I'm very excited about Phillips 66, are future looking, and please don't rely on it to buy any stock or anything else. And so I don't mean to make light of the safe harbor statement, but I am going to talk about some of our business things as well as personally. So the agenda, we're going to go about 30 minutes or so, and there's plenty of time for questions. And while I'm thinking about it, I believe if you have the ability to submit questions ahead of time, Calvin, if you see those, I've got you on chat, so you can flag them if you want me to answer them during the course of the presentation, and certainly there'll be time afterwards. So I'm going to talk about just a little bit more about who I am. I want to talk about the overview of Phillips 66, the value proposition, why you should even be interested, talk about our transformation as a company, talk about our energy in action, which is part of our just base level culture, which is really cool, and sustainability, and then we'll get to questions. And again, I'm happy to to stop along the way for questions. And so send those in, and I'll keep an eye out if I see those. So as Calvin said, I'm Chief Information Officer, focused on IT operations. And so the way we split that up here is our digital transformation is a separate group of business and IT people driving that transformation. And so I work very closely with those things, with the transformation initiatives. When those were all done, they settle back in IT, and we continue to propel them forward. So I report it through our Chief Digital Administrative Officer, Jana Goladriga. So I am located in Bartlesville. I do have a IT on a page to show you. So the bulk of IT remains in Bartlesville, where we have IT staff all over the world, but the bulk of them are in Bartlesville. And so I'm located here. As Calvin sort of alluded to, I grew up in California, Northern California. I actually graduated as a mechanical engineer. And I'm here with my wife, we've been married 33 years, from California, big snow skier and hiker and those kind of things. So my work background, I've been in the energy manufacturing sector my whole career. I started upstream Texaco in California, and then I sort of wandered into the chemicals business for 18 years. And that's where I was able to go overseas twice. I spent 3 years in Hong Kong with it's a family move with the kids and everybody. So that was a wonderful experience. We left Hong Kong. We would have stayed there forever. It's really great to be out there and be able to travel around, see different things, and have some great friends there. And then spent some time in Germany for 18 months. So Calvin sort of alluded to my story about getting into IT. So it was a little ugly. I did not want to go into IT. I loved engineering. I was in a chemical plant, and I was asked by the company 3 times, please go do this little assignment in IT. We promise it's a short project and you get right back. And eventually I capitulated and did it, went and just loved it. And so I've been in IT ever since. But I do still enjoy my engineering background. And so I know that we have a variety of students on this presentation today. And so happy to talk about, engineering or IT or business or anything. That's great. And then, as Calvin mentioned, I arrived in Bartlesville in late 2018. Okay, so it starts with the company overview. We're a diverse energy manufacturing logistics company, and I'm going to go through a little bit of the 4 segments we have there. Sales north of $1 billion. This puts us into a class. Last time I saw the official rankings, we were Fortune 23. Those things kind of change around, and those were all pre-COVID things. So some companies' earnings probably went up during COVID and those kind of things, but just to give you a size on a normal basis, we're in the top, say, 30 companies. You see the earnings there, assets, about 14,000 employees. And I'll show you if we get to the IT on a page slide, I'll show that actually with contractors and everything else, in terms of our users here, it's north of 20,000, but officially 14,000 employees. And I'll hold off and talk about our mission and values in a little bit, and a little bit more about the history. But yeah, we're traded on the New York Stock Exchange, headquartered in Texas. And so in terms of our history, if we go back and look at our predecessor companies, it actually goes all the way back to 1875 from Continental Oil Company. If you remember from your history classes, you probably know how all those big companies were split apart and moved. And so that's where our history hails from. The Phillips petroleum name actually came into being in 1917, founded here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, with the major discovery of oil here. I tease my oil friends a little bit because a lot of times, if you think about the history of oil, oil was found in the East Coast in Pennsylvania, way before this, but in Beaumont, Texas, and Oklahoma, founded oil just about the same time. So it's depending on who you talk to in terms of where modern oil started, whether it was at the Beaumont, Orange, Golden Triangle area or here, but rich history combined with Conoco in 2002. And then in 2012, we split off, and the way the split happened is Phillips, as a standalone company, had the midstream and downstream assets, and so we don't have any. We don't pump oil from the wellhead. That's other companies, but we take it from the wellhead down. You see some of our logos here, and so the most recognizable in the marketplace are probably some of the retail brands. So Phillips 66 here. For anybody who hails from the West Coast like me, I remember seeing the 76 logo, long time Conoco. For anybody who maybe fly airplanes on your own, the Phillips 66 Aviation is going to be being recognizable. And then some of our lubricants brands, I believe it's still true in terms of if you buy a Ford vehicle, there is Phillips 66 oil in those Ford vehicles as you drive them off the marketplace. So very recognizable in the marketplace. And I'm going to go through a little more of our operations. I'm going to talk specifically some of our business units, but worldwide in scale, you see we've got all segments, refining, and when we say midstream, for those who aren't familiar with that, that's our transportation or our pipeline segment. Chemicals, you guys are familiar with chemical plants, you see pictures of those. So heavy in the US and Europe, and then we've got, you see the things here in Asia. And in terms of our marketing and specialties, actually we have trading desks in Singapore, London, Calgary, and Houston. So that sort of completes the worldwide footprint. Still most heavily in North America and Europe, but global in scale. So I want to talk a little bit about the value chain, just so you can get your arms around all the parts of the economy we participate in. So if you start on the left with the wellhead, that's where we take possession of our raw materials, and it goes two different ways. If you follow the top line, crude oil, we pipeline it, or it goes by a marine or by rail, goes to our refineries. I'll talk a little bit more about our refinery footprint in a segment. And the output from the refinery, it either goes down into petrochemical feedstock, or it actually goes through pipelines back into marketing. That's where you fill up your gas tank at the filling station. And then on the bottom, we also take gas. Gas is a very diversified set of fuels that comes out of that. So we pipe that, we fractionate it. That's a petrochemical feedstock too. It's we liquefy it for export and goes into marketing in terms of natural gas that powers homes. So if you look at the little more detail in our four business segments, so the midstream, that's where we move not only crude oil, but after we refine it, we'll take it and pump it to wherever it needs to go. With storage tanks and export facilities, our refining segment, we actually have ownership in 13 global refineries, 11 here in the US and 2 in Europe. And so we've got over 2 million barrels per day of refining capability. So this really puts us, in terms of the independent refining companies on the refining side, we're top probably 3 independent refiners, and which puts us in the major category there. I meant to mention on the midstream side, actually some really interesting things going on in midstream. We had a relatively small presence in pipelines up until recently. So if you go back last year, I think we were number 13th in the marketplace in the US. So 13th market share is not necessarily very impressive, but we went live just a couple months ago with our Gray Oak pipeline, which is a large volume pipeline, over 800 miles. So that vaulted us from 13th in the marketplace to 5th in the marketplace. And we have a couple more on the books, and if and when we complete those, we'll be number 3rd in the marketplace. So we're getting big on the pipeline side and already big in refining. Chemicals I talked a little bit more about through our joint venture there, and our marketing and specialties. So refining, just want to show you the location. So it's geographically spread through the US. You see the locations there. I mentioned some of those already. And here's our map of our pipeline. So with 21,000 miles of pipeline just from our ones that we control, and then through our joint ventures, then it blows out to maybe 80,000 miles. But you see the pipeline segments. There's a very extensive one in the mid-continent in terms of moving crude oil from its source to our refineries and then to market, and then some of the export facilities you see towards the bottom. Some chemical plants then we mentioned there is some pipeline capability on the West Coast and a little bit over on the East Coast. And then in the fly out section on the left, you see where we are in, we have got a very large refinery in the UK, and then one in about central Germany. In our marketing and specialties business entering, so we are in the trading business where we're out there sourcing, buying and selling all sorts of fuels, and so this is not just our own. Clearly, we buy for us. We buy our feedstocks and those kind of things, but we have specialized expertise in this, and we're able to do that for any producer or buyer. And so we've got trading desks globally for those. And you see some of the things that and then the additional manufacturing we do in terms of base oil, special price petroleum coke. Some of those petroleum cokes is probably not a term that's familiar to you necessarily, but a lot of those go into the electrical anodes. And so we participate in a small way, volume-wise, in some of the electrical market, but important-wise, there's a large percentage of phones out there, particularly Apple and others, where our materials are critical in the production of the anodes for batteries. And then for chemicals, we have a 50-50 joint venture with Chevron. So Chevron Phillips Chemical Company is, you see, the largest producer of high density polyethylene, so basic plastics, anything you see, Coke bottles, those kind of things. And so we are a very large producer in the chemical segment too. And here on the Gulf Coast, and fairly a growing presence with several plants and growing in the Middle East. Okay, so that's just a brief run through the company. I want to talk now about the value proposition. Why should you care? What is interesting about Phillips 66 that would be attractive to you? So I want to hit on 3 items: company size and strength. We've touched on that a little bit already. I want to talk about our transformation and the branding in that, which is Advantage 66, and then some of our culture. So size and strength. Walk through that a little bit in terms of our global presence and the kind of market share we have, so that gives us a financial flexibility to be able to handle, the ups and downs of the economy. But also wanted to hit a little bit on just shareholder return. So this is just a financial graph of, what the, S&P 100 return on, dollars invested, with a marking point of 2012, which is our split from Conoco. So anyway, just using that as a convenient baseline versus our peers in the energy industry versus us. So the red line, the company colors, it's pretty easy to figure out there, is on top. So we have significantly delivered higher returns compared to the broader manufacturing sector, the S&P 100, and our peers. And one of the reasons we're able to do this is the integrated portfolio. So, while refining cracky margins may be up, maybe what we get from our pipeline or marketing assets are not so much, or the other way around. So it's the integrated portfolio, not only be able to handle the shocks financially, but also being able to source a good bit of our own products, and so we can pull value through that whole chain. And we do have a strong balance sheet. If you go back and listen to some of our investor presentations over the last couple months through this economic crisis, we had a strong balance sheet going through. We were able to have access to a relatively inexpensive liquidity, so we boosted our liquidity, and so we're eagerly waiting for the economy to get better, but we're able to weather it, I think, extremely well. And particularly compared to our peers, I think it's been impressive. Okay, so that's the company strength. I want to talk a little bit about the transformation. So long history, assets that are well placed, have been here a long time. We're not satisfied. We want to continue to transform as a company, particularly in the digital realm. And so that's why I'm happy to be talking about it here as a manufacturing engineering guy and now an IT person. We're using digital technology as the basis for much of our transformation. So I'm not going to go through each one of these, but I just want to give you a sense of how we're approached this. And so we're started on a 3-year transformation journey. So we just started year 3 of that, and there's going to be subsequent years, but we're sort of getting through the bulk of our first phase of that. A number of enabling projects in terms of our, things like digital capabilities. And I can tell you some of the digital capabilities we're doing, they range anywhere from, pedestrian examples and such as, putting out digital iPads in the refinery versus paper. Okay, it costs money to do that. You have to do all that. So we did that. That's part of the program, but it's not rocket science. You got to throw wireless access points up there. You got to give people devices, all those kind of things. So digital capabilities runs the gamut from that to machine learning, and we're getting into, of course, drones and robotics and very intricate algorithms to optimize how we do things. That digital capability is an enabling platform for us to do so many things. And we're redoing our basic systems, our ERP program. We run an SAP as a company, so we've been in the process of going live on those. I'm going to talk a little bit about organizational capabilities in a little bit. So there's a number of those sort of enabling programs. There's 9 value driving ones. One at the top left, value chain optimization. Those 4 business units I've talked about, there's significant value in optimizing the whole chain versus optimizing just refining as a business unit or a particular refinery versus the whole chain. We're just through these new digital technologies, we're finding lots and lots of value in that one right there. We're looking at procurement. We're looking at analytics all over the place as business-driven analytics. And so that's driving our need to hire data scientists. We're just hiring as many as we can find, and we're turning regular people into what we call citizen data scientists. And so data is becoming a very, very important asset to us to use, and we're unlocking that with digital technology. And you see logistics management, we move a lot of stuff around. We move a lot of, widgets with our lubricant, oil canisters and barrels and pipelines and things on the water. And so logistics management's important. And you see some of the other digital operations and maintenance is another one. So through each one of these, and we've dedicated, in many cases, full-time people, brought them out of the business to work on these for either the entire 3 years or part of 3 years to be able to unlock that value and then take that back into the business. And then now we're a number of these you see on the screen here have spawned daughter programs in terms of ones that, the 2.0 version of these things to keep the transformation going. So it's having a profound impact on not only the value we generate, the money we save, or the additional revenue we get from the marketplace, but it's having an impact on the mindset of the people. So what we're in HR and in IT, we have the workforce of the future concept, where we're trying to transform the workforce and hire new types of skills, like I mentioned, data scientists, data engineers, those kind of things. And so this is having a profound impact on the people, those 14,000 people, not just on the bottom line. Okay, so then I want to talk a little bit about the culture. There's several components of this, some that have existed since the split in 2012 and some are new. So the first 2 things you see there are what we've had, I believe, since 2012. So our vision, and you may not be able to read that, that's not the point, I'm not going to read all these to you, but is providing energy and improving lives. There's a couple important pieces of that. So the providing energy is not providing oil. We're more than an oil company. We provide energy in many, many forms. Some of them are carbon-based. Some of them are going to be, we're looking at our research and development facility. We're looking at how to use photovoltaics and participate in the generation of energy too. And so we are providing energy, and our vision is really to improve lives. The single biggest impact single biggest lever in pulling people out of poverty is giving them access to energy. That is, if you look at however you want to split it in terms of the per capita income or health or anything, if you look at those who have access to energy and don't have access to energy, huge difference. And so being able to provide affordable energy in many forms to people is the single biggest contributor to improving lives. That's our vision as a company. And if you go down and look at our values, so and this was really shocking to me coming to the company. So the safety, honor, and commitment. We say that all the time. It's something that it sort of rolls off the tongue, and we live these things every day. The one thing that struck me about these is the honor piece, because I've been in the energy industry my whole life. Started with Texaco. Safety was a value at Texaco. Throughout my whole career, safety has been a value. So that's great. It is important. It's a number one thing that we think about in terms of how we approach a job or how we get anything. But honor is not different. This is the first company I've been at where honor is a core value, and it's you see the definition here. We stand behind our word, and you can count on us to do the right thing always. That is significantly different than what you see other companies do. The fact that people may say that, it may not make it in their top line in terms of their values. And so this is important to us, and it plays out every single day. So the vision and values have been there for a few years. What we launched last year was what we call our energy in action, which is a set of behaviors. It's a set of behaviors that that we expect everybody in the company to have. And you see them written here. So work for the greater good, create an environment of trust, seek different perspectives, and achieve excellence. So we roll these out because there's a set of expectations. And so if you're part of the Phillips and Sussex family, you know that every single other one person you deal with, from the CEO down to every level, knows these and expects it. And we were able to call each other on that in terms of, hey, I'm not sensing this, where's the work for the greater good? And it seems like you might be, basically optimizing your refinery or thinking about your own department. We need to think about this from a company perspective. So this was really, I think, revolutionary to us because it put everybody in the same playing field. They're simple. There's 4 of them. These are now starting to roll off the tongue, just as safety, honor, and commitment were. When we rolled it out, it was nice. We had this is what it looks like. This is like create environment trust. I think that's the one where, this is what it looks like to create environment trust. Here's what it doesn't look like. Saying one thing and doing another, that doesn't look like that. And so that was last year, and it's seeping into the culture, and really, I think, makes it a pleasant place to work. I will tell you one funny story after we were rolling this out that, and I can't remember who said it now, but we're in a town hall and we're trying to get some feedback on this. And someone piped up and said, you know what, these are great, except when I go out on the freeway at night, I don't see these things. I wish other people had these things, because you get to expect these things at work, and it's a really just powerful environment. And then you see it shockingly different when you leave the office. And so maybe that's something we'll work on over time, but at least we can work on it here. Okay, now I want to talk a little about our commitment to sustainability. And so there's actually some new news here. So you will see some of the things listed here in terms of, we want to manufacture affordable. I said, affordable energy in all its form, clean products, safe and environmentally sound manner. You see some of the amount we've invested in safety, environmental reliability since the split in 2012. And this is important. We're significantly better in terms of our safety record than the refining industry in general, and many other industries too. It's not like we're 5% better. I mean, we're significantly this was a 50% lower recordable rate versus the refining industry. That's a huge deal in terms of people being able to come here and expect to have a safe work environment and return home every evening. And then a decline in some of our SOx and NOx emissions, the amount of tons recycled there. And then, so this is what I want to talk about. So 340 million gallons per year of potential renewable diesel projects. So this slide is, I think this was from April. So this is a few months old. What we announced just probably 3 weeks ago, or maybe only 2 weeks ago now, is we're taking one of those refineries that you saw on the map in the San Francisco area. We're turning the entire facility into producing renewable diesel. And it'll do a little bit of of sustainable aviation fuel and a few of our other products, but the primary output is going to be diesel, renewable, made from used cooking oil. All the things that would be waste products before, maybe a little bit of soybean farming, those kind of things, but the primarily used cooking oil. So up to date, we've taken pieces of a refinery and done that with it. In this case, we're taking the entire refinery. We just announced it by 2024 is when we'll be up. And I think this 340 million gallons of potential, now this is going to be, that facility alone that we announced is 800 million. So I think the next time we update the slide, I think the potential will go to north of 1 billion gallons per year potential. And then as those things start coming online, they're committed. So that's a huge deal for us. It's huge for a couple different reasons. We want to participate in the energy transition. We realize that there's multiple forms of energy, multiple needs of energy, and multiple ways of producing that. And so we've been working on this for a few years in our Humber refinery in the UK. We signed an agreement to take wind power off the North Sea to power some things that we need to on site there. And but this one was a big announcement. It'll be the largest facility that produces renewable diesel by far. So we got ahead of our competitors to really show that we wanted to lead the effort in this area. It's going to be it's very exciting for us to be able to say, not just a little bit here and there at the margins, but we're taking an entire facility. And just a little bit about our volunteer hours in the community. That's important to us in terms of allowing people to take days, additional days, not vacation days, to volunteer for the community. Those are days at work, versus also volunteer. And you see we significant funding we give for disaster relief and charitable organizations, and much of that is matched grants that are matched. And just I'm going to skip that. I do want to give a little bit of a plug for IT. So I'm engineering to IT, but just to give you a flavor for those who might be interested in IT specifically. Told you this needs to be updated north of 20,000 email accounts or users that we manage. 20,000 devices in terms of whether that's iPads to laptops or wherever. We run a number of 24/7 operations within IT. Clearly, our pipelines and refinings are 24/7, but in IT we have our service desk and our response center 24/7. And you see some of the stats on data storage and firewall connections. The maps on the bottom are just to give you a flavor for where IT is. And so the size of the dot will give you essentially the percentage of IT there. So the big dot in the middle is Oklahoma. So about 55% of our IT workforce is in Oklahoma. I think it's 20-ish or 25% in Houston. And then at many others refineries within the US. And then in Europe, you see London and on the coast for the North Sea in Germany, and then the final one on the right is Asia, so Singapore, and we do contracts and labor out of India, and so that's part of our 24-hour workforce. So that's a little bit about where IT is and some of our assets we manage. And then just for those who are interested in what we do in Bartlesville. So here's a shot of downtown Bartlesville and the buildings there you see. And some of the things we do in Bartlesville, it is our business operations and innovation center. And we do a lot of IT, HR, we do finance here. We run our 24/7 pipeline operations centers here, as well as a number of other things. And then the other part of the Bartlesville campus is our research center, and so you see there it's quite extensive with pilot plants and a lot of research we do. And then on site with us are some ConocoPhillips employees and some Chevron Phillips. The bulk of that is us. And I believe that might be my last slide. Okay, so I'm gonna take a pause there and and I've got some other backup slides if that's interesting, or I can go back through or answer any questions on anything really. Okay,
So Brad,
yep.
Oh, Brad, this is Calvin. I just want to put in a plug to make sure that those here on the chat are signed up for the virtual career fair via Handshake. Our recruiters who are here in the chat room today will be taking part of that on that virtual interview, so virtual career fair. It'll be a little bit different, but we're very excited to be able to connect. I would say that the information that Brad has provided today is really great information that you could share with the recruiters to show that your knowledge of Phillips 66. And definitely want to open the floor to questions about our recruiting process or Brad's presentation. And we also have recruiters from our commercial group, which hires energy management, from engineering, which does electrical, mechanical, and chemical, and our IT group, computer science, CIS, and then we also have our finance function represented here today, who mostly recruits accounting. And Charlie, I think you're on there, and they've got to have 12 hours of accounting in before they can apply. Yep, 12 hours is correct. So also want to let you know that our job postings are already up at P66 on campus.jobs. And so encourage you to apply ahead of time. And yeah, so again, open the floor up to questions. And Brad, thank you for that overview. It was a great company overview, but I really appreciate you hitting on our values and our culture. I think that's something that really resonates well, hopefully, with our participants today.
And Calvin, I wanted to just chime in on the Handshake piece. Your postings are also on Handshake. Students, if you go out to Handshake and click on the posting, it will direct you to the external site that Calvin just mentioned. So you can get to it either way, but they're posted on Handshake as well, but it'll direct you to the Phillips 66 site that Calvin mentioned.
And I do think it's interesting that Calvin sort of maybe tongue-in-cheek mentioned, when you're talking to recruiters throughout these things, maybe impressing them. So they would be impressed if you said words like, I'm gonna give you some inside tips now, so don't tell anybody where you got the tips, but you might say stuff like, yeah, I was looking at your, how you guys optimize your value chain. That'll turn some heads for the recruiter. And then also our energy and action. But both those things are new to us, that value chain, optimization, and what we're getting from that is new as part of our transformation, as well as our energy and action. So you'll turn some of the recruiters' heads if you use some of those terms, but don't tell them where you heard it.
Alrighty, so what questions do you all have about the company overview, about the recruiting process? This is your time to ask any and all questions. If that's okay with Brad, any and all?
Anything's open.
Okay, we do have a question in the chat. What area of business do you think will have the most growth in the coming years?
That's if we look at specific to our sector, let me answer this a couple different ways. We're starting to invest more and more on even further downstream. And again, if you've had any business classes, being able to integrate up and downstream. And so the retail segment for us, we've got some joint ventures, and we're trying to expand our retail practice. Part of that is for name recognition, and again, being able to pull through those volumes and be able to have visibility to that whole value chain again in terms of the thing. So in our specific business, we're seeing a growth of the retail business. Specifically for us, we're probably not going to buy a 14th refinery because we're already big in the refinery space, but we will continue to look at the retail side and some at the pipeline logistics side. So that's more in terms of business unit growth, but in terms of areas of the business, I know I've touched on it before, but this analytics thing is huge. We're hiring full-time people that all they do is get into the data engineer, data scientist, but we're actually rolling out tools for anybody, whether you're in finance or whether you're an engineer out in the plant or wherever. We have new tools that are more self-service. Alteryx is one of them, and in terms of being able to port data from one system to the other and cleanse it and do some things with it, and then be able to visualize it through Tableau. So as a kind of a discipline, lots of growth we're seeing, and it's going to continue to grow, this whole analytics space.
Great, and that's a nice lead into our next question. For MSBA students, so our Master of Science in Business Analytics, we're entering into our third year here at the University of Tulsa with that program. Probably our largest growing graduate program. But the question is, how does the internship work? Is it remote? And what are the projects and objectives for the interns?
Well, so Calvin, I can probably do half of that. Well, I can talk about how the internship program ran most recently, but you might have more visibility into how things progress. So I can start to answer if you want to finish.
Yeah, definitely. So, as part of our, commitment to safety, we did a virtual internship this summer for all of our corporate staffs. And so we were very happy with the way it worked. We honored 100% of our internship commitments. And so we did work virtually. Our plan is to be back in the office and in person. So Phillips 66 has been back since June 1. And we really have taken a lot of precautions, from temperature checks, contact tracing, face mask requirements. You can't go anywhere without seeing some hand sanitizer. So we really have a safe workplace, and the health and safety of our employees is really important. So with that being said, we feel like we've really mitigated any exposure, and that we are prepared to take internships back to the office coming this summer.
Okay, hey, Calvin, I'm going to answer a little bit too, and then I've picked up a nuance of that question, and I could be wrong, but the nuance I picked up is internship and master's programs, because I think the internship for other ones are pretty well known, but if there are any nuances to master's programs, so if I'm correct, you might think about that. But before you answer like Calvin said, we did do our internship program. We that worked very well. Presentations were given. We did all the regular stuff, collaboration we could do virtually through that. We did have some. We're at least within IT, we are hiring more advanced degrees. If you go back and historically, most of our new hires, say in IT, were 4-year degree students, and we did not do that many experienced hires or master's degrees hiring. That is changing, particularly, and I think you said I heard analytics in the degree, and so particularly with some of the new analytics disciplines, those are more, I think we've hired maybe 1 PhD and several masters or something, and so definitely that's within our radar screen. But if I'm right, Calvin, do you want to comment? Does the internship program change for any master's degrees students?
No, we still have the same internship program for master's level students. So you would apply to so for the MSBA, you would apply for our IT position. Davis, do you want to hit on some of that from an application perspective and what you all are looking for?
So in regards to like the applications, as Brad mentioned, Alteryx is a big one. We do a lot of Tableau, and when it comes to the summer experience, we have multiple analytics teams throughout the company that you would get plugged into and do whatever projects they're currently working on. Was there something more specific you were looking for?
Yeah, so maybe you guys aren't familiar, but the MSBA program here at TU is a full year program, so we don't have the summers off. So we're in school through the summer as well. And so I was wondering if that's possible to have that internship while we're in school. It's a continual 18-month program. And so we don't have that gap where you normally fit an internship in, but since analytics is mostly just as long as you're PC based, I was wondering if it was remote or we do it here while we're attending class, or if we just wait until we graduate to apply for those positions, or how that works.
So I will tell you that we do not have a remote working policy for any of our roles at Phillips 66. So that includes interns. I do know that we've had some students who have taken summer courses while working full time in the internship process. So I'm not sure what those summer courses look like, if they're during the day, that sort of thing, or if they can be done in the evening. But you know, for the internship, it is an office requirement. So unless COVID-19 continues the way it is, and then we'll be virtual. But
And I do think too, Jordan, that's a great question. We can work on our side through the college and through the curriculum and through the professors to ensure that you get those opportunities. And the summer is far out, and as far as planning, all those classes may be virtual anyway. And so it might not hinder you in an in-person internship. COVID-19 will be our deciding factor on a lot of this.
Yeah, I do want to work a quick plug-in, if I can, in terms of things that we're finding great success from University of Tulsa. I mean, there are many departments, and so this is not meant to put one over the other, but just a couple different plugs. We're seeing a particular interest in cybersecurity at University of Tulsa, and so we sponsored the not just because we wanted to, but because there's actually some expertise that TU is really developing around cybersecurity, but the conference, the annual conference. And then the other ones, we have a very strong veterans program at Phillips 66. We're recognized as, and Calvin can probably correct me, that, you know, the top 10 or one of the top employers from the Veterans Association, because we do have a very strong program there. And I know that also matches very closely with some University of Tulsa. So we're interested in all the disciplines that Calvin mentioned, finance to business to engineering to IT, but just want to highlight a couple that we're having really good success with.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Yes, we love partnering with Phillips 66. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Are there other questions?
yeah, so I see, you know, I'm the fraternity advisor for KA, and I see some KAs on here. So I'm going to make Luke Laniers ask a question about commercial energy management. So Luke, you're on the spot.
Nice. Luke, are you with us? He might have stepped away.
All right. Well, I also see Dominic's on here. Dominic, do you have a question that you'd like to ask?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I really enjoyed the presentation, but I was kind of wondering about where do you see, especially with, as you guys obviously know about oil prices, how they've fallen dramatically in line with the COVID-19 crisis. Where do you see, kind of from like a financial perspective, where do you see oil prices and a lot of these companies that are in that oil space going now after having depreciated by a significant margin?
Well, so I'm personally bullish on the energy industry as it is, and I can see maybe a plateauing of demand, but we're, you know, the population base is growing, the middle class in many countries is exploding, and so the need for oil, now the mix may change. Like as I mentioned, you know, wind energy, and with the fact that we're participating in the energy transition, we're participating in that. So the mix may change, but the need for energy is absolutely not going to go away. The trajectory may have tailed off a little bit, but it's still going up. So, and then in terms of how that plays out domestically, again, we don't participate in the oil exploration as a company, but just because we're around oil and I like oil, all my friends are in oil. The U.S. is very resilient and innovative as an industry. And so I'm confident that we will not be able to, or we will be closer to the last man standing in terms of if oil prices, now I just checked this morning at 43, I think West Texas was 43-ish. And so that's down from the high, but you know, producers can make money in the 40s. And so there's many other parts of the world where that's not economical. And so I think we'll survive and we'll continue to innovate and make that even less expensive. And that's good because Phillips 66 perspective, we take it from the wellhead. And so as we're looking at our colleagues out there and friends and neighbors and other things doing that and surviving or thriving in the energy oil production, that makes our feedstocks lower, and then we can continue to drive it from there. So I'm bullish on it, but and just one more thing, you hear in the news about, you know, is the recovery, is it a V recovery, meaning is it a crash and comes right back, or is it more like a U? And so I personally think it will come back. This is we use different terms. I think it's funny, demand destruction. In terms of, we saw the demand destruction in terms of need for our products very steep. I think it's going to come back down. I'm pretty bullish.
Very nice. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. So if you have additional questions, feel free to jump in on the chat or ask. But in this time, I want to thank everyone for attending. Also want to just highlight this was a joint event hosted not only by the Business Career Center and the Collins College of Business, but also with our Center for Career Development and Professional Engagement. And also our Veterans Affairs group here at the University of Tulsa, all of whom are on the line. So any of our TU employees, and I forgot, I'm looking right at Amy, and I forgot, sorry, Amy, also our University Advancement and Alumni Engagement Department. So joint effort to put on this showcase. I know in the College of Business this morning, we had goodie bags on tables. You have been in classroom visits virtually. We were getting our professors used to that. You virtually talked to students. Even at 12:30, we had students who could not attend, and they were able to stream this virtually in the classroom for you all to see. So you are very much on campus today virtually. So students, if you are in Helmrich Hall, there's still a few goodies left on the table. I just got a picture of, there's still some goodies, so go by Helmrich Hall 215 to grab some. And I want to turn it over to either Amy or Candace or our group in the Center for Career Development and Professional Engagement, if you have anything to say.
One thing I was going to plug actually is is Friends of Finance. Phillips 66 is a speaker this season. Brian Mandel is going to be speaking in November. It's November 18th, and that coincides with our Investment Portfolio Challenge, which Phillips 66 is the presenting sponsor of. We are really grateful for all that you guys do, all that Phillips 66 does to support our students. And I mean, that's through mentoring, through giving your time in examples like these, and financially supporting our different programs and our students. We're really grateful. Thank you.
I just want to let everybody know that we put into the chat a tiny URL link. If you go ahead and click that link, you can register, and I'll put it in one more time. So it's up the chat. You can register in our platform called Yellow, which will give you a head start as the career fair comes closer. You can upload your resume and profile, and it will help our recruiters work through more quickly. So please be sure to take advantage of that for those of you on the call.
Awesome.
I'll speak up really quick for the Center for Career Development and Professional Engagement. Thank you, P66. I know you were in a computer science class this morning, and I wanted to thank Calvin for plugging the virtual career fair coming up on September 24th. So be sure, students, that your Handshake profile is up to date, and you can actually start scheduling as soon as the employers release their schedule. So thank you for this day, and we're excited to see our Phillips 66 reps at the virtual career fair.
Absolutely. And one last plug, because you guys are on campus all the time. So we want one more last plug for this semester. You are also hosting an event with our veterans on September the 18th. And Cindy, I hope I got that date right. But September 18th, that is also a handshake for students to sign up. It's with our Student Veterans Association. So we just appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being our first employer showcase this semester. I think it went well. Yeah, so I'm very excited. Again, students, there's a few goodies left over in Helmrich Hall. Coffee might be cold, but you know, it's cool. So feel free to go over to Helmrich. And I know you guys are going to be in a couple more classrooms tomorrow as well. So it's kind of like Phillips 66 week here at the University of Tulsa. So with that, I want to say thank you and have a great day. Be safe, everyone. And until we meet again, see you later.
Thank you.
Thanks.